Hi, friends. Welcome back. Today I have another familiar face for you. Hopefully you watched my last interview with him, the drum master himself, Mr. David Logeman. Mr. Logeman, how are you?
Well, that's a very nice compliment. Uh, Thank you.
Hey, you've earned it. You've earned it. Mr. Logeman, last time we ended with a discussion of an upcoming Beach Boys related project, Beach Boys Unplugged. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Some people have been asking questions and things, and there's not too much floating around right now, so I'd like to hear more if you have more to share with us.
Sure. The reason not a lot has been floating around is because you were the first person in social media that I announced it. We've kind of kept it under wraps all these years because um, I wasn't sure as this process went about how many of the Beach Boys that I would actually get to participate in this. And it took a long time to finally get Mike Love to agree and to approve the project. And then I had, like, I think I told you last time, Mike Love of the Beach Boys hired me in 1995.
Hmm?
And then I had a recording of Carl Wilson from 1996, but I had to go through a certain amount of approval and I don't know how else to say. It took a long time to get it to the point where it is now. So that's why it hasn't been announced before. And now that I have every Beach Boy except for Dennis. Dennis Wilson died in 1983. And at that point, I had just finished recording and touring with Frank Zappa. I was doing session work in LA, and I had not yet, well, I had just met um, Gary Griffin from the Beach Boys at a session, and Chris Farmer, who was at the time the bass player and in the Jan and Dean band. So the year Dennis died, I was just beginning the contacts for my surf music career. So I never talked to Dennis. I wasn't able to record him or perform with him, of course. A lot of people don't realize this, but up until Dennis kind of got out of the Beach Boys, um, and it was due to his alcohol and drug intake stuff, he just unfortunately got himself in a condition where he really couldn't perform. But they had two drummers for years in the touring Beach Boys band.
Hmm.
So it would have been great. I wish I would have been the second drummer to play with him, but he's the only Beach Boy I don't have. Now, in the future, there's the possibility that I could use some older recordings of him and maybe include him in a volume
Yeah.
two. I'm praying and hoping that volume one will be successful enough that maybe that'll be possible down the line.
Okay. So what sort of songs could we expect? Are we deeper cuts, greatest hits, all interpreted in an acoustic unplugged style, from what I understand? But
Yes.
anything we should cross our fingers for or really look forward to?
Yeah, if any fan is a little unclear about what unplugged means, I didn't use any electric instruments at all. There was no electric guitars, there was no synthesizers, no drum machine, nothing processed like that at all. It was all acoustic instruments. So,
All right.
so when the Surf City All Stars perform live, as you know, we pretty much stick to the greatest hits of the Beach Boys. Most of the time when we play, we're contracted for a 90-minute show. So if we did all the hits plus all the deep cuts, we'd be out there for 3 hours or more. So we don't do
Yeah.
that. Um, and because of the amount of participation that I got from the Beach Boys in terms of singing on the Unplugged project, um, I've got 10 cuts. And their record company, and I thought that that was a good number to have a virtual album, basically. So there's not going to be any deep cuts on the unplugged stuff now. But what I'm hoping is that this will be so successful that we'll have a volume two, a volume three, so on and so forth. And then later on down the line, yes, we can get into some deep cut stuff.
Hey, I like the sound of that. So, in terms of unplugged material, this, of course, is different from Beach Boys Party because this is all Beach Boys songs as opposed to covers of other artists. And yeah, it'll fit in well, I think, with things like their 1993 Unplugged tour, that kind of stuff, doing some songs in a new way. So I'm really excited for it based on what you've said. And I know
Yeah,
other fans are too.
I think the fans will really appreciate it because once you strip away the electric instruments and the synthesizers and some of that stuff, an intimacy happens with the lead vocal that fans will really appreciate. You're able to hear all the nuances of their vocals, when Mike Love is singing lead. And even if we do, let's say, a popular song like Kokomo, um, because it's not as processed and there's not all that electric stuff, you can hear more of Mike's approach and how he phrases things. And like I say, it's almost like the difference between hearing these songs in concert with the Beach Boys and hearing the Beach Boys in your living room playing it with acoustic guitars. That's
All
that's
right.
the that's the dramatic difference, in my opinion. So I think the fans are really going to enjoy it.
I think so too, because people were asking me a lot of stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. Let me talk to Mr. Logeman. So hey, I'm glad you were here to clear that up. So we have that to look forward to. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people are really excited based on the announcement you made on the last video with me. So I know I'm excited for it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the reasons I'm talking about it this early in the game is I think a groundswell of support and people talking about it in all the different Beach Boys social media accounts, I think will help. Because this has not officially been green lighted. And I believe that it will be. Uh, I'm finishing the 10th track right now. And so until I have all 10 tracks done, nobody's heard the whole album yet. So, but I'm assuming that based on discussions and feedback I've gotten from people that are in the Beach Boy world, it'll probably be released next year.
All right. Hey, I'm excited for it already. Sounds good
Yeah,
to me.
yeah.
So while we're on the subject of albums, of course, Surf City All-Stars, you signed this for me, as did both Chris Farmer and Philip Bardowell. If fans want to get a Surf City All-Stars CD, I do believe they have to attend a live show. Is that correct?
That is correct. We don't sell those online anymore. At least I don't think we do. I know some of our past CDs are not online. We just had a certain problem issue with doing that, stuff getting damaged, and I don't know. We're so concentrated on other projects that yes, you have to go to a live show to get that. And of course, the show that you saw had Al Jardine and David Marks on it, and they are on that CD singing
Yep.
live with us because when those guys left the Beach Boys touring band, they started performing with us. And so, yes, they're on that CD.
Hey, perfect. And Dean Torrance is on here as well.
That's
So,
right.
and I think pretty much everybody gets a lead vocal. Chris Farmer, Gary Griffin, Philip Bardwell. Do you get a lead vocal? I don't think
No,
you
I
do.
do not sing. I,
Okay.
I'm not like Dennis Wilson who could sing. My job is to just hold down the beat, be the foundation of the rhythm, and be quality control. But that's one gift God did not give me, so I don't sing.
That's all right. Hey, you played the drums, keep everyone else on track there, so that's good. That's
Yeah,
good. So yeah, so of course I was at that show in New York just about a week or so ago, and you were nice enough to send me a set list. I wasn't able to grab one for myself, but I see we started off with a nice surf medley. We had Do It Again, Surf and Safari, Catch a Wave, Hawaii, and we had, to my pleasant surprise, Surfin'. Al Jardine did the original Surfin' in its entirety, because in the past I've been to shows of his where he does Surfin' in an abridged form. So,
okay.
is Surfin' a song you do often?
We only do it when either David or Al is on the show. Um, and we don't have them all the time because uh, the budget of some promoters is limited a lot of times, and a lot of times they can't afford to hire Al and David in addition to the Surf City All Stars. So, but when David or Al are on the show, we do add it because um, early in 1961, it's an interesting story because they were all kind of singing together off and on. Brian got Carl, Dennis, and Mike together for Christmases, for birthday parties, and just for fun. They would sing harmonies and different songs, sometimes pop songs, sometimes kind of old standards. And then when Brian ended up going to El Camino College, which is in the LA area, that's where he met Al Jardine. And Al at that time was a very, uh, he was steeped in folk music.
Mm-hmm.
So he was playing a lot of Kingston Trio stuff and all that. And he got Brian to play acoustic guitar, Carl to play acoustic guitar and sing Kingston Trio songs. But that wasn't the birth of the Beach Boys. It wasn't until later on, Dennis uh, heard all those guys doing that. And Dennis said, "You got to cut out that folk crap. You know, you got to stop doing that. And Brian, you got to write a surfing song because I surf. And we got to do a rock band with electric guitars and drums." So, in my opinion, Dennis Wilson was the one that started the Beach Boys because they would have never done that without Dennis pushing them and suggesting that. So when Brian did write Surfin', all six of them would rehearse. A lot of people don't realize all six of them were original Beach Boys: David, Al,
Mm-hmm.
Mike, Brian, you know, Carl, and Dennis. So, so you know, David Marks has a tie to that as well, to the song Surfin', which was recorded and released first in 1961. Then it was released again in a limited supply in 62. And then, and Al was on that record. David was not on it because he just wasn't on that session. But then Al left and thought this isn't going to go anywhere. And David came back, and then David, you know, recorded on Surfin' Safari, which was their first nationwide hit. So that's why we do Surfing in our set.
Hey, well, I'm glad you do it too, because so often it gets, forgotten about or skipped. And I know when I saw Al's homecoming concert in August of 2023, he joked about, yeah, we wrote a song. It only has a couple chords, but that's okay. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, he did like a shortened version. So I was really glad to hear the full thing. That was a very pleasant surprise. And then we had In My Room, Don't Worry Baby, California Girls, Kokomo, and Surfer Girl with, I believe Al sang the bridge part of that. So that was
Yes.
very impressive there too. And of course, we have to have I Can Hear Music. Tell me about Philip Bardowell. He sang several leads. I thought he did an amazing job.
He's fantastic. I don't know if I described much in our first video, but um, at some point, you know, the Beach Boys were always looking for extra musicians and singers who fit the vibe of the Beach Boys and had the vocal tonality and approach that was somewhat Beach Boy like. So, starting in, you know, a lot of fans don't know this, starting in 1967, they realized because of the recordings, they needed extra singers and musicians. So that's when they added two drummers in 1967. And then they started adding, like sometimes Glenn Campbell would go out on tour to replace Brian. Other times Bruce Johnson went out. Um, and then very quickly by 66, they had like 11, 12-piece band because they were trying to duplicate the complex vocals and instrumentation of songs like Good Vibrations. So that's where the Surf City All Stars came in. We got hired as the extra singers and extra musicians when they expanded from the original 5 or 6 guys. So Philip Bardowell, he was in the Jan and Dean band with me, and a lot of the Beach Boy guys heard about him and heard how great he was. So Carl Wilson, in particularly, took an interest in Philip and kind of took him under his wing. And I think that was kind of an act of God because shortly thereafter, Carl got diagnosed with cancer. And so while that was all going on, Philip was learning from Carl all his guitar parts, all his vocal stuff. Uh, Carl gave Philip his guitar,
Oh, wow.
and then when Carl passed
Hmm.
away, Philip took his place
Wow.
and sang all the songs. Now, Beach Boy fans, if they've gone to enough shows, know that Carl used to sing "I Can Hear Music," and
Hmm.
even though that was a cover of that the Beach Boys did, it was a very high point for fans in their shows because Carl sang it incredibly great. So in our
Hmm.
show, in honor of Carl, Philip sings it.
Yeah, he did an amazing job, and he was kind enough. I met him after the show along with you and Chris Farmer, but yeah, he did an amazing job on that too. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that's not one you do live with such frequency that it comes like that. That might be one you have to rehearse and think about a little bit more, but it was amazing. So that was
Thank
for
you.
me one of the highlights.
Thank
And then
you.
after that, we had, of course, the Hot Rod songs, Little Deuce Coupe and 409, things like that. I noticed Gary Griffin saying Shutdown. His microphone wasn't picking up his voice, so we got kind of an instrumental version of Shutdown, which was
Oh,
neat.
I didn't
And
know that. You're the
oh
first to
yeah,
tell me that.
and yeah,
Well,
not
we
Gary's fault, of course, a tech issue, but
we flew in the Beach Boys sound mixer for the show, so I'm gonna have to call him up and say, "Hey,
okay.
man, what happened?" But
That was the only song that was like that where it wasn't quite. And honestly, I always think when something goes wrong in a live performance, it kind of gives it some character too, because nothing ever goes perfect. But
well, if you noticed on that particular show, there was a lot of microphones, a lot of
hmm
guys on stage. Sometimes there's a technical glitch where in sound check, maybe it came up okay, and sometimes wires just get crossed or a cable will go out, and
Sure.
unbeknownst to our Beach Boy sound mixer, maybe he was caught, uh, just unaware and unable to
Yeah, hey,
respond and recuperate to bring
yeah.
Gary's vocal out. But yeah, uh,
It was all right. It was fun to hear an instrumental and stuff like that happens. And I talked to you a little bit before the show, and you were running around. I could tell you were a busy bee, so always stuff to do before a show starts. So I get it, and that was fun. But of course, we did the hot rods, and after that, we had our pet sound stuff. God only knows, Sloop John B. Wouldn't it be nice? Is pet sound stuff hard to do live? I would think it'd be a little more difficult.
it is. It is because all that stuff has a tremendous amount of vocals. When Brian was recording this stuff, he would triple track the vocals. The lead vocal would be double tracked. In other words, when Carl sang Good Vibrations, he sang it twice. And his vocal is so tight that you don't realize there's actually two vocals melded into what you're hearing. And all the backgrounds they recorded 3 times and kind of stacked on one another to make it
Okay.
sound really full. And then the instrumentation, I mean, when Brian would go out, he had a bigger band that would cover French horn or some of the other instrumentation, and we just kind of do our best to try to replicate that. But I think we had a 7-piece band on that New York show, so yeah, it's kind of tough to cover everything. But yes,
Yeah.
it's much harder to do the pet sound stuff. Yeah.
I figure, but you guys did a fantastic job. And then we had good vibrations. So Matt Jardine was in this show as well. He always does an incredible job. It's actually his writing on this set list I have from a couple of years ago. But what's it like working with Matt?
Oh, Matt's great. When Mike Love hired me in '95, um, Matt was already in the band. He, of course, grew up with the Beach Boys. Um, when Brian uh, was in and out of the band and eventually didn't tour with the Beach Boys anymore, The first guy that really took that place was Jeffrey Foskett. And I don't know
Mhm.
if you ever met Jeff, but
No, sadly, I didn't
unfortunately
before
he
he
passed
passed.
away. And then when Jeff left the Beach Boys, it was Matt that took Jeff's place and sang all of Brian's parts. And Matt's great. He's just
Okay.
great. Very identifiable voice. Uh, I mean, he's been singing that stuff for over 20 years and still sings it spot
Yeah.
on.
Superb
Spot
job
on.
there. And
Incredible.
speaking of which, Good Vibrations followed up by Sail on Sailor, and Chris Farmer sang that. I was very impressed. I'd never heard his version of that song before. I thought he did a darn good job on that.
Yes, when Chris was in the Beach Boys touring band, he was the musical director for a while, and they thought so much of him that yeah, he they let him sing lead on quite a few songs. He sang that in the Beach Boys show, Sail on Sailor. He also would sing "You're So Good to Me." He sang quite a few in the Beach Boys show, and yeah, he's a fantastic vocalist. And when he left the Jan and Dean band, he got hired by Mike and was in the Beach Boys for, I think, 12 years before he
Okay.
joined the Surf City All-Stars.
I knew he'd been involved for a while, but I was very impressed by his Sail on Sailor. Then we had our dance medley, so Let's Dance, Do You Want to Dance, Little Honda, and Dance, Dance, Dance. David Marks sings Let's Dance, something that goes back, I think, to his Marksman days when he covered that song with his backing group. He
Well,
did a nice job.
it actually goes further back than that.
Chris
Uh,
Montez,
what,
I
what,
think, did the original.
what the fans don't realize is that when the Beach Boys first started doing concerts, they didn't have enough original material to do a show. Back
Sure.
then, they did it anywhere from 30 minutes to 45 minutes for a set. And if they were on the same bill with Dick Dale or the Kingsmen or whoever, they didn't have enough original material to do 30 minutes. So they would do covers. And David sang Summertime Blues. He
Mm-hmm.
would sing Let's Dance because Chris Montez, who wrote and sang Let's Dance, he went to Hawthorne High along with the Beach Boys, but he was
Oh,
older than them. Chris Montez was 2 or 3 years older, and they looked up to him because he was already playing shows around LA. He had success as a recording artist. And so naturally, that was a song that they knew well. So David sang that starting in the early 60s, before
okay.
the Marks,
Well, that's
during Beach
really
Boy
cool.
shows.
I never knew that. I never knew they knew Chris Montez, but he did a great job on that too. David Marks never got too many lead vocals as an official Beach Boy. Yeah, I think
Right.
really only two, Summertime Blues and the live version of Get You Back. So it was nice to hear him get several. And David Marks can sing really well, I think too. So
Yeah,
I'm
he
glad that.
does a good job. So because I'm such a big David Marks fan, I made sure that on the Unplugged project, he sings lead, and he sings lead on Little Deuce Coupe, and it's awesome. It's an awesome version. So
Oh,
the fans can look forward to that.
yeah, that sounds amazing already. So yeah, he did a few there, and then we had, of course, Help Me Rhonda. I had my Help Me Rhonda t-shirt on, and fans, I'll put a few pictures from the show throughout this video too, including one of me with Mr. Logeman. But Help Me Rhonda was a big highlight. And we kind of got to the audience participation part, Surfing USA, Barbara Ann, which my companion, who helped me take photos, was really looking forward to Barbara Ann. And that was a lot of fun. And fun, fun, fun is the finale. But then you did an encore song too. You actually dug into the Beatles catalog a bit and ended with Back in the USSR. So tell me about that.
Well, first, let me tell you about Barbara Ann because
Oh, yeah.
that's another song that the Surf City All Stars kind of have a tie to in a way because when the Beach Boys were in the studio recording the Party album, Jan and Dean was in the studio right next to them. And Dean was going back and forth and listening to what they were doing. And at one point, Brian said, Dean, what do you have any other ideas of songs that we all love, that we've all done a million times that we could record? And Dean said, yeah, how about Barbara Ann? And Brian says, oh, that's brilliant. So Brian says, come on in and sing it with us. And Dean says, well, if I do, you can't tell anybody because we're on different labels and I might get in trouble and stuff. So Dean says, okay. So he and Brian are singing the high part in Barbara Ann.
Yep.
So it's amazing that here Dean is singing on what ended up being a Beach Boy hit, and Brian sang on Surf City, which was a Jan and Dean hit. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
As far as USSR, when Mike Love first hired me in 1995 and we started doing shows, we would do USSR occasionally in shows because here's Mike's story, if I can remember it. He said back in, I think, I can't remember what year, they went to India with the Beatles
Yep.
and were
Rishikesh.
studying, yep,
Yep.
they were studying with the Maharishi and learning meditation and getting together with them. And he said one morning, while Mike Love was eating breakfast, Paul McCartney came down with an acoustic guitar. And he said to Mike, I'm writing a song and it's kind of like what you guys do in the Beach Boys. And Mike says, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, you know how you guys talk about Surfing USA and California Girls, and you talk about all the different parts of the United States and how that relates to your touring and whatever. And he said, just for fun, I'm writing something about Russia. And he said, just as kind of like a sarcastic joke. And Mike said, well, if you do that, you got to talk about all the different parts of Russia and the Soviet Union. And Paul goes, yeah, you're right. I should do that. So Mike says that he helped inspire that and helped change the lyrics of that. And then, sure enough, McCartney writes USSR. So, and as you can tell, because of the falsetto part in it and stuff, it is
Yep.
very Beach Boy esque. So we did it in shows back in 95, 96, before I left the Beach Boys. So that's why we did it. We all love the song. And
Oh
I
yeah,
thought
it's a
it was
great
really
song.
cool that Al Jardine came out and played it with us because usually he wouldn't do that. He's not a fan of USSR, but he came out and played it with us. So
Oh,
I got a big kick out of that.
yeah, that was great. And that had been a live staple for the group even in the 80s. So, yeah, it
Yeah.
was really cool to hear it, and no one was expecting it. So that was a lot of fun. So, that was the conclusion of that show. And then, of course, David met with fans. I got to go hang out with you and Philip and some of the other guys there too. But some people have asked, where all did the Surf City All-Stars tour? Because they want to see a show too, but they don't know where to go necessarily.
Well, it's easy to remember surfcityallstars.com. That's our website. And on that website is a tour page, and it'll have all the different spots that we perform. Sometimes they're private parties, but we do a lot of city festivals that are free. We also do, some water parks and different events where fans can come for free. And then we do, theaters like August 31st. If there's any fans in the LA area, we're doing an Art Deco theater in the northwest part of the LA area called Moore Park, Moorpark. And tickets, they're not too expensive. And I'm just now adding David Marks to that show.
All
He
right.
decided he wants to join us. So they should go to surfcityallstars.com. For international fans, we do tour internationally. The last time we were in Europe, that was probably maybe 3 years ago. We played a festival in Italy, and we had Dean Torrance and David Marks with us
Cool.
the last
Yeah.
time we did that. Um, this last year in, let's see, in February, we did the Flower Power Cruise in the Caribbean. And then
Okay.
last November, we did the Malt Shop Cruise in the Caribbean. We also tour Canada quite often, Mexico. We haven't been to Asia in quite some time, but fans should just go to surfcityallstars.com, go to the tour page. Hopefully, we'll be doing some more international stuff, maybe next year, I hope.
Okay. All right. I'll make sure to link that below so everyone can scroll down and click on that there and see what's going on. Mr. Logan, we got about 5 minutes left. So anything else you want to push out to the fans or anything like that?
Um, I think we've covered it pretty well. Um, we really enjoy all the support. Without the fans, we just wouldn't be able to do what we do. And so I just want to say a thank you to all your viewers, all the fans out there. Um, we love seeing you at the shows. Most of the time, if it's a Surf City All Star show, we do come out afterwards to sign. Sometimes a lot of times the Beach Boys don't do that, and it's I think because of the crowds. Al Jardine got a little scared of how many people were out after the show, and he wasn't feeling great. I think he ended up with COVID, unfortunately.
Oh
Uh,
no.
yeah, he wasn't feeling good during the show. He sang fairly well and his energy was good, but yeah, he caught COVID. So I
Oh,
apologize to any fans that came to the Buffalo show that didn't get his autograph. And I know he kind of felt bad about it. But Surf City All Star shows, man, we're out there. If Dean is on the show, he's out there. If David Marks is on the show, he's out there signing because we all appreciate the fans. So
yeah.
I'll just
One
leave it there.
day I need to get a photo with David Marks. I got his autograph. I got to interview him. I didn't get a picture with him. I'm still kicking myself. So the line to see him was pretty long. So I hung out with you guys instead, which was even more fun because I hadn't met Chris Farmer or Philip Bardwell. But someday I'll get a photo of David Marks.
Next time,
But
Alex. Next
yeah,
time.
next, there we go. So I'll keep an eye on your site too, because hey, I gotta say, I saw you in 2021 and saw you just a week ago. Both shows, top tier stuff. So it was a lot
Thank
of
you.
fun.
Thanks a
And
lot, Alex.
hey, no problem. Thanks for pushing out the info about the Unplugged album. Everybody check down below for the Surf City All-Stars website and everything else. Mr. Lugman, anything else to say to all our fans and watchers today?
No, just a big thank you.
All right, hey. Everyone, it's been me, Alex, with Betamax Blocker and Mr. David Logeman. We hope to see you again, and if you get a chance, catch a Surf City All-Star show. And we'll see you next time. So long.
All right. See you guys. Bye bye.